Hello everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we would be solving questions based on bearings. And to understand the concept of bearing, we should be knowing the concept of parallel lines first. There are three important terms in parallel lines. The first is alternate angles. Now, whenever the parallel lines are drawn, parallel lines means they are in the same direction. So whenever the parallel lines are drawn and any third line intersects both the parallel lines. So the alternate angle property says that you have to look for the letter Z. Now in this figure, you can see a Z being formed here. Now as per the property of the parallel lines or the alternate angle, the property is this angle, the line intersecting the parallel lines, and angle formed here. Both these angles would be equal. So if this is angle X and this is angle Y, so as per the property of the alternate angles, these two angles would be same. X equals to Y. Similarly, you can see another Z being formed here in this manner. Now, if this is angle A and this is angle B, so as per the property of the alternate angles, both these angles would be equal, means A equals to B. Second property we have is of the corresponding angles, and in case of corresponding angles we have to look for the letter F. Now what letter F means is here is if again there are two parallel lines in the same direction and any third line cuts them. So here you can look for the letter F. This is the letter F being formed. And the property says that these two angles would be same. So if this is angle X and this is angle Y, both these angles would be equal. That means X equals to Y. You have to look for this letter F. Right? Third, we have the property of interior angles. Again, this is being applied in case of the parallel lines. We have these two parallel lines here in the same direction. If any third line cuts them, the interior angle says that you have to look for the letter C. It doesn't look to be a C, but it behaves in some way as the letter C. So for interior angles, if these two are the interior angles inside the parallel lines forming the letter C, then and the angles are labeled as X and Y. So as per the property of the interior angles, both the angles X plus Y should sum up to 180 degree. That means both the angles would be supplement of each other. So these are the three properties which we would be using to understand the concept of bearing in the next slide. Now here you can see that the bearing says that bearing of a point is the number of degrees in the angle measured in a clockwise direction from north line. The important term is north line here. The reference line for the measurement of bearing is it's always the North Pole. Second important point to be noted here is it's always measured in a clockwise direction. Two important things. Third point which you need to be clear about in bearings is the relative to another point. One point in relation to another point. So that means in case of bearing, you have to keep in mind three important things. First important thing, the reference line would always be the North Pole. Second important point, the direction of rotation would always be the clockwise. And the third important point, the bearing is always calculated between 2 points. And for those 2 points, you have to keep in mind the letters of and from. So in this example, we have to find the bearing. In the first part, the bearing of A from B, and in the second part, B from A. So these two letters of and from plays an important role in case of the calculation of bearings. Now, the reference point comes after the letter from, and on the reference point you always draw the north pole. Now if B is taken as the reference point, we have this north pole here, and here this A and B is having this connecting line. Always remember there has to be a connecting line between the 2 points. So bearing here would be calculated as bearing of A from B. So bearing of A from B, here is the north pole, the reference line, and here is the connecting line. Always remember the bearing would be the angle between the north pole and the connecting line. So angle formed here, it's of 65 degree. So bearing of A from B, it's of 65 degree. In the second part, it is B from A. Now, this letter, the point A comes after from. So that means the north pole has to be drawn on point A. Here is the point A and the north pole has been drawn. First important line, second important line, the connecting line. We have this connecting line between the points A and B. So the bearing to be calculated of B from A, this would be the complete bearing. And here we can see that it is having a measurement of 245 degrees. So we would conclude that the bearing of B from A, it's of 245 degree. It was a short example. Now in the second example, the example says that an airplane flies from Karachi to Lahore on a bearing of 44 degree. Now it says from Karachi to Lahore. That means Karachi has to be taken as the reference point. So if this is taken as the reference point, Karachi. So if this is a reference point, then North Pole has to be drawn on Karachi. This is the North Pole. And said it's at a bearing of 44 degree. At a bearing of 44 degree means 44 degree would be somewhere here. So this complete angle would be 044, and this plane has to fly from Karachi to Lahore, which is at a bearing of 44 degree. Now in the next part we are asked to find on what bearing should the pilot fly to return to Karachi from Lahore. Now the reference point in this case is Lahore now. So we have to draw the north on Lahore, right? This is the reference line north on Lahore, and this is the connecting line between two. So in that case, we have to go clockwise direction from north drawn on Lahore. So this has to be the complete angle what we need to find. Now previously we have learned about the property of the interior angle. So if this is 44, this would be the supplement of 44. That means this can be calculated as 180 minus 44, which would be equals to 180 minus 44 equals to 136. So this complete angle would be 136, and to calculate the bearing, it would be the difference of 360 degree, because one complete rotation is of 360 degree. So minus 360 would give us the bearing as 224. So the bearing of Karachi from Lahore would be equals to 224 degrees. Now in the next example, we are asked to find, we are given that the condition is if A is north of B, that means B would be a point here, and A is at north of B, and this point would be A, since A is at north of B. C is southeast of B and on a bearing of 160 degree from A. C on a bearing of C is southeast of B and on a bearing of 160 degree. That means, so C is southeast of B. Southeast of B means it would be somewhere here. Now south or east of B means it would be bisecting the quadrant. Bisection of the quadrant means this part would be 45 and this part would also be 45. So the complete bearing would be 90 plus 45, which would be of 135 degrees. And it says from A it's at a bearing of 160. So if I draw an axis on A, so 160 degree would be appearing somewhere here. So this is the location of point C, right? So this complete bearing it's 160 degree and this bearing it's of 135 degree. So inside the triangle we have this angle as 20 degrees, right? Now in the first part we need to find bearing of A from B. Of A from B means it's vertically above it and it's not making any angle, so it would simply be of 0 degree. Second, we have to find bearing of A from C. Of A from C, that means we have to draw north on C. Drawing north on C and the connecting line between A and C. We have this connecting line between A and C. So eventually we have to find this complete angle up till here. Now we know that we can see a Z being formed here. Remember the property of the alternate angles? A Z being formed here between the parallel lines, right? So if this is angle 20, so this would also be 20. So the complete bearing, the required bearing to be found would be the difference of this 20 and 360 degree. So it would simply be 360 minus 20, which is equal to 340 degrees. In the third part, we are asked to find bearing of C from B. Bearing of C from B, we have the north on B and we have this connecting line between B and C. So it's simple here. Northeast, we have already concluded that northeast makes up the angle or the bearing of 135. So bearing of C from B would simply be 135 degree because it's bisecting the quadrant. Now B from C, we have this connecting line between B and C. And we have the north on point C. So for finding bearing of B from C, we actually need to find this complete angle, right? Now here we can see that again a Z being formed. Right? A Z being formed. So if this is 45, so this would also be 45. And the bearing to be calculated would easily be calculated as the difference of 360 and 45 degree. So it would simply be 360 minus 45, which would be equals to 315 degree. I hope this clarifies you the concept of bearing. These were the important things about bearing. Thanks for watching.